let's just get this out of the way. Hello, everyone. It's me, Maester Mike, back for my next Star Wars review. So, I better do this right now because I don't have any time in the next few days, and I just want to do this while the memory is still kind of fresh in my mind. I just want to see The Rise of Skywalker, the supposed final movie in the Skywalker Saga, as he's calling it now. Oh boy. I want to preface this right now. This movie is just all over the place. This movie is clearly not what either George intended or probably even what J.J. Abrams planned for with The Force Awakens back in 2015. This movie just has so much going on and just... man. Although, in a way, I don't know. This movie's all over the place, but I feel like, to an extent, I kind of like this movie the most out of the new Disney movies. Well, as in comparison to episode 7, 8, and 9, Rogue One is still obviously, I think, the best movie that they've made so far, but yeah. The funny thing with these new movies is that I kind of like them when I first saw them to an extent, but they never really grabbed me as the old movies did because I watched those as a child, and that might be due to the fact that I'm in my mid-20s now, so it may not grab my imagination as well, but I don't know, when I was talking about The Last Jedi, I'm talking about this other show called Troll Hunters. That show captured my imagination in my mid-20s, and so I don't know why Star Wars has failed so much. But yeah, everyone's talking about this movie right now since it just came out. I feel bad that I paid Disney for this because I feel like this should be the last Disney movie I'm gonna see in a while. I don't know. I just don't like what Disney is doing with their public relations and how they're being so hyper-political these days. This is not what Disney was meant for, especially considering that all these politics are very much against the family-friendly nature that they've built for themselves for the last 80 years. Or is it 90 years at this point? Oh, wow. So anyway, The Rise of Skywalker. This movie is about... it's just all over the place. It starts with Kylo Ren going to this one planet after hearing apparently this message, according to the opening crawl, that Emperor Palpatine is still alive. Yes, Palpatine is back. How is he back? After we saw him falling down that giant shaft in the second Death Star in The Return of the Jedi? Unclear. I kind of took a bit of a page from pitch meetings there. I didn't mean to, but unclear. Yeah, just going with that. He's apparently alive, which is a big middle finger to everything that Anakin and Luke has sacrificed for in The Return of the Jedi. So, Anakin failed. He did not kill Palpatine. The Sith still exist, and so did Luke. Like, this whole trilogy... But anyway, Kylo Ren goes to find Palpatine, who wants to bring Rey to him because, for reasons I'll talk about. And meanwhile, Rey, we actually get to see her train as a Jedi, and she's just way too powerful. Well, this movie apparently takes place 1 year after the events of The Last Jedi, and she's just still super powered. And yeah, the training sequence is just damage control for what they went through with The Last Jedi, with her, how she barely trains and she's already a master. This still doesn't dilute anything. It still doesn't dilute the accusations of her being a Mary Sue. So the Resistance, what's left of it, apparently they found a lot more people now after getting nearly wiped out in the last movie. Where'd they come from? I don't know. And now they've heard, at least from... There's a spy in the First Order that's telling them that Palpatine is still alive, and so they go on a plan to find exactly how to find Palpatine, as there's a certain device that could locate where Palpatine is. He's on this mysterious planet known as Exegol, the lost planet of the Sith. But to get it, you have to find this device. But So I'm just gonna say it right now. This movie is just one big epic. Not so much epic, actually. This movie is just a giant series of fetch quests from video games. Just so what they have to do is they have to. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, and like, how do they? So what they do is just go to multiple different planets to find clues, and then go to other planets, and then. So first they go to this one desert planet, yet another desert planet that's not Tatooine. This one is called Pasana. Like, why do they have so many desert planets? I hear that the new place in Disneyland and Disney World is this fourth desert planet, like, called Batu. Like, how many desert planets do you need, Disney? There's already, well, 2 technically, counting Tatooine and Geonosis. That was enough! We don't need any more! So they go to this place called Pasana, where this festival is being held. And they encounter who else? They encounter Lando Calrissian, who just so happens to be there. And he points them on the way to find this one ship that belonged to somebody, I guess, belonging to the Sith at one point, to find this one artifact which will point them to another location. Well, the artifact is a Sith dagger that has ancient Sith text that C-3PO can't read. One thing is kind of nice to see C-3PO getting more attention in this movie, but as he was barely in the last 2 movies. Although R2 is still scrapped. Like, why would you do that? R2's my boy. I love R2-D2. He's one of the best. Why would you just completely scrap him? They introduced this fourth new droid character called Dio, and there's too many droids in this series now. They've got C-3PO, R2-D2, that was enough, but now we have BB-8, and now we have... I would have been fine with just BB-8, but now they have Dio, and it's too many. And so they go to this one planet. They go to this one planet called Kijimi, where Poe apparently happens to know this one person. That happens to know this one person that would help C-3PO decipher these Sith with texts. And then, with that, they go to this one planet called Keth Bir. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, which has the device they need to find Palpatine, where it's in the ruins of the Death Star, the second Death Star. Which, how did it get there? I thought that the Death Star completely got obliterated with that explosion, and apparently, not only does the entire Death Star look very much intact, but it looks like it just got in a big fire. But like, everything's so intact. Like, even Palpatine's old throne room is still intact. But how did it drift all the way to this other planet? I don't even know where this new planet is, and it was over Endor, and it goes to this far distant planet that... And that's another thing that this movie does. Everything is just handed to these heroes in such a convenient manner. They go to this one planet. Oh, there's a guy that happens to know where they need to go. Then they go out here. Then they find the ship that just so happen to come across the ship, and they find a device. Oh, I know this one person who will decipher this. This will help. And then they go out there, and it's just a bunch of fetch quests. That's clearly what George Lucas had in mind for his Episode 9, I'm sure. This movie also introduces so many new characters. Like, we bring back Lando, who, thankfully, they don't butcher his character like they did Luke and Han. Which we're still not forgiving you, Disney. We're not forgiving you. Although, Lando, I guess, is fine. But there's this one woman named Zori Bliss, who is an old friend of Poe's. She just looks like... Her outfit looks like the Rocketeer. I swear. She looks like the Rocketeer from an old Disney movie called The Rocketeer. She doesn't really do much. Then there's this other character, her name Jana. She doesn't do much either, but offers a new love interest for Finn. Most of the characters don't really do much. It was just nice to see Rey, Finn, and Poe finally together as a trio, but they really should have set this up in their first movie. Rey didn't even meet Poe until the end of The Last Jedi, and now they're trying to set this up as the new trio to be on par with Luke, Han, and Leia. It doesn't work, especially not in the last film of this trilogy. And they're bickering and fighting way too much, and it's just... A lot of the humor is still very forced and unnatural, and it just doesn't work. The action still is not very great. There's a speeder bike chase which... Again, they're still trying to take cues from the original trilogy. There's a speeder bike chase on this desert planet, which looks very similar to the speeder bike chase from The Return of the Jedi, except except the heroes are driving like makeshift, like what looks like old skiffs from Jabba the Hutt's palace, and the stormtroopers are using these really practical looking speeder bikes with tire treads, and they like, why would you have like completely ground vehicles when you could have a much better floating one? They seem so obsolete. And of course that leads to that really bad line where they shoot these two stormtroopers with jetpacks, and C-3PO, Finn, and Poe all go, they fly now, they fly now, they fly now, because comedy is apparently a lost concept to Disney now. There are other random things that happen, like Chewbacca gets kidnapped apparently, and Rey tries to stop him. She tries to do what like the character from Star Wars: The Force Awakens video game Starkiller does. She tries to force pull the ship from the sky. I should probably be telling you about spoilers, but I'll see what I can do about that. But she tries to stop it with a force pull out of the sky, because apparently she can do that now. Oh yeah, there's also, when they find the Sith dagger, they find this worm creature that apparently is wounded from something, I don't know. And she force heals it, and then it goes away. What was the point of it? I don't know. There's just so much things that happen in this movie, and it's just really nonsensical. But yeah, Rey apparently can pull ships out of the sky, and she eventually learns that she can manipulate lightning, just like Palpatine, which, as we learn later on in the movie, she's not a nobody. She's actually a Palpatine, which, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was what they were setting up in the original trilogy. Not the original trilogy, the original movie, if that was their plan. I'm 100%, yeah. Palpatine was not meant to be in this movie. Even like the original director for this movie, Colin Trevorrow, said as much, and like George Lucas said that Palpatine is dead. I don't know much about the expanded universe stuff, but I've heard about this story called the Dark Empire, where Palpatine pretty much does kind of come back. From what I've heard of that, that sounds better. Like, I feel like that was handled way better than this. Yeah. I'm just all over the place, but then again, that's what this movie is. But Rey shoots lightning at this ship that supposedly he kidnapped Chewbacca, but apparently Chewbacca is still alive. He was taken on another ship, which that's a complete cop-out. Excuse me. Like, where was the other ship? We only saw one. And so after, there's also to decipher the old Sith text on the dagger, they have to wipe C-3PO's memory, which is yet another character that they have to kill off. But then again, later on in the movie, apparently R2 still has his old memory back, and so that whole plot thread is just completely pointless. Like, they had C-3PO just completely lose his memory, only for it to be gained back again. And he also says he's taking one last look at his friends. Like, I can assume, I guess, in the time that between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, they could have become friends, but 3PO has done nothing with any of these characters in this trilogy, so he has no connection to them. And then we get into this whole story bit where the heroes have to rescue Chewie from the Empire. There's a lot of plot armor for the Star Wars characters in the past, but like this bit where they're on the Star Destroyer is just cranking it up to 11. It's ridiculous. Like, they just invade the ship without any resistance at all whatsoever. They're just gunning down all these stormtroopers. They're able to get through this whole thing completely unscathed, and oh my gosh, oh boy. And then there's this fight between Rey and Kylo Ren. There's another thing with Kylo Ren. He brings back the Knights of Ren, which were these people that he was a part of back. It was name dropped in The Force Awakens, completely forgotten about in The Last Jedi, and then they bring them back now, and they are completely worthless. They do not make any impact at all. But then there's a scene between Rey and Kylo. Kylo's on the planet of whatever, Kijimi, and Rey is on the Star Destroyer, and they still have this whole Skype, like what people are calling forced Skype call, where they're talking to each other, and apparently they can fight each other, or even though they're not physically present in the same room. Like, apparently the Force can do that now. If that could have happened, that should have been something that happened in the original trilogy. You can't just make up new things like this and expect us to just buy it. Then on the planet, but yeah, let's go on with the movie. As they're going on, they get to the wreckage of the Death Star, and Rey finds the device that will help lead her to the Palpatine. And she has this one vision where she's attacked by her dark side. What will happen if she eventually succumbs to the dark side? And it is completely pointless. It's only there for a second. She has this weird moment where she sees herself with a dual-bladed lightsaber. Why does she have a dual-bladed lightsaber that can fold up into this improbable shape? I don't know. Why not just a single blade? That doesn't make any sense. Just a single blade. The whole Dark Rey moment is just completely pointless and adds nothing to the plot. Rey will not turn to the dark side. We all know it. She's too much of a Mary Sue for that to happen. Then Rey and Kylo get into yet another fight. Like, they have too many fights in this movie. Say what you will about some of the prequels with all their fights, but at least they saved the big fight between the main. At least they saved the main fight for the end, for the most part. There's just too many encounters and too much things going on. But Rey once again bests Kylo, and she heals him, and then she runs off, and then during that battle, Leia just decides to die. Apparently it's time for her to go. There's no real rhyme or reason for why she dies. She's just gone. I know that they probably could have done something more with her had Carrie Fisher still been alive, but I guess I can't really hold that much on them, but she just dies randomly, and apparently that gets Kylo Ren to turn from the dark side back to the good, and he has this, I guess, vision or something with Han, where he's... who's he talking to? Is he is that his hallucination or something? Why is he talking to Han Solo? Han Solo's not a Jedi! He can't do Force ghosts or anything. Obviously it doesn't look like a Force ghost, but it looks... But... yeah, how is that possible? He's just talking to himself, essentially. Then I feel like there's some moments where Jar Jar Abrams is throwing shade at Rian Johnson, where Rey's back on the planet where Luke tried to exile himself on, and Luke says that she shouldn't throw away the lightsabers. It's a tool of the Jedi, pretty much giving a middle finger to Rian and his treatment. And later on, they throw a shade at the Holdo maneuver. They're saying that's that's something that we can't do. That's obvious shade. It's kind of cute, but not enough to save this movie. Yeah, there's just a little tiny subplot where Rey tries to run away, but it's written away very easily. She's convinced to come back pretty much immediately, and she can learn how to fly so many different freaking ships. She flies the Millennium Falcon. She can fly Luke's old X-Wing, which apparently can still run, even though it's been submerged underwater for who knows how long. And also that one ship to get to the ruins of the Death Star. Yeah, and also this movie still is stuck on the Death Star. Even when Lucas reused the Death Star in The Return of the Jedi, it wasn't as bad as how many times they used Death Star tech in these new movies. Because, sorry if the lighting changed weirdly, that was just my computer going into screensaver mode. But Palpatine's major plan is to outfit thousands upon thousands of Star Destroyers with Death Star cannons to destroy planets. How many planet-killing machines do you have? Destroying planets is not really a good idea for rebuilding your empire. So Rey goes out by herself to fight off Palpatine, and Kylo Ren, having been convinced, comes to save her, and he just completely destroys the Knights of Ren in another in another like forced Skype duel with still playing around with the rules of the Force. Yeah, Knights of Ren, completely superfluous, should not have been in these movies. And there's this one giant battle where Orlando gains all the people, this entire army, like this giant like armada to help the rebels. And there's this one stupid scene where Finn and this new character Jana, I don't know how to pronounce her name, where they're riding on the top of a Star Destroyer, like on these horse-like creatures. Like that was dumb in the trailer, and it's dumb here. Like, how are they able to do that? That's just... And I was talking about this with my brother just a little bit ago. A Star Destroyer could have easily spotted them, shot them, and they'd be all dead. But nope, apparently they don't see that, so they're able to get away with destroying these vehicles. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Hux apparently was the spy that has been telling everyone the whole time about... He's been leaking information to the Resistance about what the First Order is doing. And then pretty much as soon as that's figured out, he's just killed by this new guy named Pride. So Hux is a completely wasted character, just like pretty much everyone else in this trilogy. So Rey and Kylo, who's now back to being Ben Solo, they face off the Emperor himself. And Ben, he just gets completely trounced, but Rey, almost getting killed, she's able to summon the power of all the Jedi, and she's able to use 2 lightsabers, like, to rebound Palpatine's lightning back at him and just kills him, almost kind of in a Raiders of the Lost Ark. His face kind of melts off kind of way. It's pleasant. Something I totally want to see again. Ugh. Yeah, Palpatine is done in a very easy way. And that's it. Like, that First Order, the Empire, is all done in. Like, they've done it right this time. Apparently, it wasn't good enough in The Return of the Jedi. Now they've done it right. That's just something about these new movies. They just rendered the original trilogy pointless. The Jedi never came back, the Republic never came back, but now they're going to do it right this time. The Empire is dead. The Sith is dead. It just makes no sense. It doesn't have any purpose with anything. And then, after this major victory, we have Rey wrapping up the trilogy where she goes back to Tatooine, the only desert planet that should be... the only desert planet that should exist in this universe, but apparently there's like 10 million different desert planets. And she takes both Luke's lightsaber and Leia's apparent lightsaber, because they show a little flashback of Luke and Leia training it. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't help any plot holes that these movies made. And so she apparently built her new lightsaber, which is golden, apparently, because she has to be so much better now. Oh yeah, after Palpatine died, Rey nearly killed herself, but Kylo, I keep saying that character's not very impressive at all. He brings her back with his own force healing, and they kiss for some reason. It's just for the shippers. But anyway, and then Kylo dies for no reason at all. Everything just happens whenever the plot demands it, and makes no sense. But anyway, Rey goes back to Tatooine, goes to the Halar's homestead where it all began. She buries Luke and Leia's old lightsabers, and she makes her own lightsaber, which is golden. And her whole shtick in this whole film, kind of the whole trilogy, is that she's trying to find her way. Who is she? We don't know who she is. And some random passerby, he asks her who she is, and she just decides to be. She says, "I am Rey Skywalker," because that's what the Star Wars was always leading up to. The original trilogy, the prequels, leading up for Rey to take Luke's name and now be the real hero. She's the real chosen one. And that is the end of the Skywalker Saga, apparently. When you really think about these movies, they don't hold up at all. Like, I want to like them because they do have some... It can be kind of fun in a way when you're watching them, but then you just think about them and they just don't really make any sense at all. These movies have just become like just generic action movies, just generic sci-fi movies, and that's never what Star Wars was. It was such a unique world, a unique vision with such great locales and imagination and amazing music, and even if they were kind of hokey at times, they were always so much fun. But these movies just, this is just Disney cashing in. They had no idea what they were doing with it, and they just had to make their money back somehow. And was it worth it, Disney? You ruined your own reputation you ruined Star Wars' reputation and your own just to make a quick buck. Are you happy now? I'm not happy. Most Star Wars fans aren't happy. But to be fair, to me personally, I already knew what I was going into because this movie was leaked, like, the points were leaked so much in the last few months, and so I already knew all the plot going in, so I wasn't really offended too much, but yeah, these new movies are just so forgettable. Even something that should be good, like John Williams' score, it's just, they suck. Even the music is bad. Like, there's so many, it's not bad, it's just forgettable. Even there's so many bad stuff, like bad video games, like Sonic the Hedgehog games have had many bad games, but they still have great music. These just don't. And these are definitely John Williams' last Star Wars movies before he eventually died. He's like almost 90 now. Probably doesn't have that much time left on this planet, which is sad. He should have gone out in such a great high note. Instead, Disney just decided to half-ass these entire movies. And our original trilogy is in shambles now. Everything that was accomplished back then doesn't matter. Rey, the Mary Sue, will do it better this time. Yeah, in a few years, no one will remember these movies, and no one will remember these movies. We'll have the originals, and even the prequels were better than this. Say what you will about those, they were definitely better than this. They had much better structure and plot and a goal. I don't like being mad about these movies because they can be fun at some points, but it's just, they're just forgettable. That's all they are to me. These new movies are just so forgettable. That might be due to me being an adult now, but there are new things that can capture my imagination. Why can't these? What a disgrace, Disney. What a disgrace. You had such a golden opportunity when you bought these movies. You did so well with Marvel. Why didn't you do so well with these? But now, Disney, you will be known as the people who destroyed Star Wars. Great job. That's my thoughts. So, yeah. See you guys later. Those are my thoughts.